Hi, I'm Justin Kirk, and in this video I'm going to show you how you can make this falling meteor, or falling meteors, I guess, if there's multiple. So what this is just a bunch of rocks, and then they're surrounded by fire, so I guess that's what a meteor is in real life too, but the first thing we need to do is make a rock. So go into Blender, and I already have a rock here because I already made it, but let me just go new so I can show you how it was made. So you can take the starting cube, just add a subdivision surface modifier to it, there it is. Change the levels viewport up to 4, then you can apply this and then go to the modifiers and add a displace modifier. Click the new button on the right, click this little like 2-line symbol, and then change this from image or movie to Voronoi. And then basically what this does is it displaces the vertices based on the picture on the right. So we just want to zoom in on the picture. So just zoom in with the size. So after you zoom in a bit, it eventually will look like a rock. You can right click it, shade smooth, and then Control A, apply all the transforms, and then you can export it. Just go ahead and call this meteor, or call it whatever you want to, it doesn't matter. So change this to FBX unit scale and change the forward to Y forward and then export it. Then back in Unity, we just need to drag this meteor into our game. I'm actually just gonna make a new folder, so let me create a folder, tutorial 3. Cool, so just drag the meteor into the folder that we just made. After you've dragged it into the folder, you can drag it right into the scene, double click on it to zoom in on it. And then we just want to change this to be what we want. We just want to test with this one before we actually put it into the particle system. So the scale is probably gonna have to be 15 by 15 by 15. And then we want to add a material to the meteor. So if we right click at the bottom, we can create a material and just call this meteor material. Okay, and then you could drag the material right onto the meteor. Change the base map color to be something really dark. Not all the way black, but like just like right above black. And then in the metallic map, just turn it to full metallic. Then it really kind of looks like, because it's on fire, right? It's a meteor, it should be kind of black, like it's a blackened rock. And then just, you can turn the smoothness up a little bit. This just makes it more shiny and reflect more light. We're just using this for testing purposes. So now that we have the material and we've done this, we can delete this from the scene. So we want to right click and click effects, particle system, and we can just call this meteor particle system, or meteor PS, it doesn't matter. And then you see how it starts and it looks like it's going upwards. Well, we want this to go downwards. So change the X from negative 90 to 90. And then we want to move this up so that it's falling onto the scene. Yeah, like that. Okay, and then we don't want this coming out like this. We want, instead of a rate over time, we want to change this to a burst. Just make the burst 1 for now because we just want to worry about the 1 meteor while we're editing this. It can get really laggy, especially if you have a shitty computer. If you have a bunch of meteors and you add a bunch of fire to it, it can become really laggy really fast, especially in the testing area. So go to the renderer at the bottom and then just change it from billboard to mesh. Then you can click on your meteor that you dragged in and drag the cube into the meshes slot. In Blender, you should probably name this rock or meteor or something else, because if you get too many of these in your scene, like if you look at my scene, I just like 100 billion cubes, right? So like when I'm trying to find this, I literally have to drag it in now. I can't find it in the list because there's just so many different cubes that I've added to the game. But anyways, this looks like it's way too small. So we decided the size for the meteor was gonna be 15. We're actually gonna make this a random between two constants. So we'll make this between 10 and 15. So that way some of them are smaller and some of them are bigger. We wanna change the start speed to be something way faster. So again, random between two constants, do between like 50 and 200. Maybe 100 and 200, not 50 and 200. So then at the bottom, we need to add the material that we made. So just drag the material onto the material. All right, I mean, it's looking pretty cool. So when it hits the ground, we don't actually want it to go through the ground. We want it to actually hit the ground. So we can turn on collisions. And then there's an option for world here so that it will collide with anything that it hits. And then right now it has the bounce of 1. We don't really want that. Now we're gonna create an explosion for this, so we're actually not gonna leave this on. So what we wanna do is change this lifetime loss to 1. What this will do is when it hits the ground, it will immediately disappear. And when it disappears, we're gonna play an explosion effect so you can't see it anymore. So that's pretty much it for the actual meteor portion of this. So if you change the count up, you can make like way more of them come out at once. We're not gonna bother with that right now because it's just, we'll use 1 and then for the final result, you can change that. The other thing to note is we're using a shape to determine where the meteor is going. If you want this to be more spread out, you can change the angle to a higher number. So like if you change it to 45, like it has a larger radius where the meteor can come out. We're just gonna leave it at 25 for right now, but just so you know, that's how you could change that. And in my final script, I changed the starting point via code. So like I just moved the y-axis to a random number between two numbers, but you have to do that in code. You can't do that in here. So you can only really change the angle, and you could change the radius, which is the top portion of this. So if you wanted it to be like spread out from where it's starting, you can change the radius at the top, but we're not going to do that. So now we need to add fire to our particle system. So under the meteor particle system, you can right click and click effect and particle system, just call this fire PS. So we want this to be a sphere. We want the emission to be a rate over time. Just make it 150, that's fine. And then we need to use a texture sheet for the fire. So let's double click on this. It looks like it's not even visible at all. So we just want to change the start size to maybe like 50, random between two constants, 50 and like 100. And then we want to add this fire texture sheet that I made to it. So I'm going to attach this to the video. You don't need to worry about making this. Let me just copy it from here into here. So this is called a texture sheet. So what it does is every single one of these fire symbols, it picks one of them at random, and it just applies whichever one it picked, and it can make it actually look more realistic. So instead of just having one picture of fire, it has a bunch of them, and it just randoms between them. So in the fire particle system, what we want to do is under the renderer, we can create a material from this fire picture, because you can't actually use the picture, you have to make a material of it. So just right click and create a material, and we'll call this fire texture sheet material. And then at the top here, if we type in unlit, there's a few unlit options here. One of them is a particle system unlit. So we want to choose, not that one, that's the wrong one. The top one. Yeah. So the difference between them is that this one has a color mode option, which will allow the colors to multiply instead of be the same. So if you don't do this, the color will be stuck with whatever's on this sheet. But when you do this, it allows you to multiply the color or change the color in the thing. So that's why we're choosing this. So then we just want to drag this fire texture sheet right on top of this. And then we want to change the surface type to transparent, I think. So then we just want to go back to our fire particle system 100. Let's just drag this outside of this for now. Okay. So we can see that it's just playing this particles unlit. So we just want to drag our fire texture sheet material right on top of this. So now we need to go to the texture sheet option. So texture sheet animation, and we need to type in the grid information. So it's 3y by 4 on the x-axis. So just type in 4 on the x and 3 on the y. And then, no, it's 4y, 3x. Sorry, that's my bad. And then the material should be additive. Here we go. Let me just press play again, hang on. Yeah, change the material to additive. So now you have this cool fire, okay? So then we want to change the start rotation. So right now, let me just change the rate down so you can actually see it. So right now it's playing one of these per second, if you look, right? And all of them are coming out in the same orientation. So as you see this square box around it, all of them are oriented the same direction. So that could add like some redundancy where they're all just like the same rotation. So we just want to change the start rotation. So just hit random between two constants, and just between negative 360 and 360 degrees. So this will make the fire come out on a random angle each time. And then we want to change the speed to be a random between two constants, maybe between like 15 and 30 will be fine. And then the start size is between 1 and 100 right now. Maybe it should be 50 and 100. It shouldn't be like, there shouldn't be any ones that are like 1. You're not even gonna be able to see it. So this is great. So this is looking pretty good. Let's change the rate over time back up to like 100 or like 30, not 100. 100's too much. And so this is how much it will go around the meteor. This is way too large. So we just want to change this to be maybe the start speed from this to maybe 1 to 5 or 15. And then the start size can go down to like 25 to 50. We'll see it. Okay, so on the meteor particle system, let's drag this fire particle system under this. And then there's something called a sub emitter, which will make it follow this around. So let's turn that on. And then we'll drag this particle system that the fire particle system onto the sub emitter. And then we just need to change the lifetime of this to 0.5 or something less. And then we don't want this to be looping. Oh no, we do want it to be looping, but we only want it to come out when this actually plays. So if we click on this and click play, okay, so this should play, and then this should play, and then it should be done. Oh, start lifetime 5, that's why. We just need to be 0.5. I typed 5 instead of 0.5. So the start lifetime of the meteor should be 5. I changed the wrong lifetime. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so now when you click play on this, you can see that there's like a fiery trail following it. We just want it to actually be more, let's just make it a little bit larger. So 15 by like 20, and then the start speed can be like 150. Because we want this to go around the meteor. We don't just want it to be like following, like, we want it to kind of be a little bit larger. Let's just actually make this 30 to 40. Oh shit, we're changing the meteor again. What am I doing? Okay, change this back to 15 to 20, or 5 to 20, whatever. And then change this, the start size of this, from this to 40 to 70. And then the start speed, oh, so the start speed's only 1. So we should change this to like 10 to 15, or 10 to 25. The higher the speed, the further away from the meteor it's gonna go. So let's just click this again. Okay. And then maybe the rate over time can be like 70 instead. Yeah, I like the way that looks a lot. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is just change the meteor start size to be between 15 and 20. So the meteor, like if you're looking at this, you can see that the meteor is too small and you can't even kind of see it if it's like 5. So 15 is a good start size for that. So that's pretty much it for the actual meteor portion. Actually, let's make that bigger. 18 to 25 might be better. Because we just want it to be large enough where you can actually see the meteor, or else what was the point of adding the rock? So it kind of makes it look more like a meteor like that. So the next thing we need to do is add an explosion. So if we can right click in the left side here, we can create an effect. It's just going to be another particle system. Just call this explosion PS. And then we just need to make an explosion. So if you double click, you can zoom in on this and you can see it's just particles are floating upwards. We don't want that. So go to emission, change the rate over time to 0, and add a burst. You could just make this like 150, and then we want to change the shape to a sphere so it goes around it, and then we want to change the start lifetime to 0.5, and then change the speed to be really fast. So we're going to do a random between two constants, 200 and 300, so that it comes out like extremely fast. So it's kind of like an explosion. So let's just make this bigger. So change the start size, random between two constants, from 0.5 to 3. So let's try that again. Great. So it's kind of crazy. And then at the bottom under renderer, let's change this from billboard to stretched billboard, and just change the length scale to 3. Okay, so this is pretty cool. So now we actually need an explosion material so that it's actually glowing and it looks a little bit brighter than it is. So if you right click at the bottom here, we can create a new material and just call this explosion material. And then on the right side here, just change this again to unlit. And make sure you pick the middle one, because there's a couple here. This is the, the top one, not the middle one. And then change the color mode to additive. And then we just need to change the color. So we're gonna have this be red, and then the emission is gonna be orange color. And then at the bottom here, if you turn up the intensity, we'll make it glow. So let's just see what that's looking like. Oh, we didn't apply it. So we need to drag this material onto the particles unlit slot here. So just go ahead and drag it there. All right, so this is looking pretty awesome. Let me just click this again a couple times. So we want to make it to a random between two colors. So the start color here, let's just do random between two colors, and we'll do white and then maybe red. I think the emission is kind of overriding it, but if you pause this, you can see that some of them are yellow and some of them are white. We really want this to be more red. Let's go back to the meteor, the explosion material, and just change this from additive to multiply. No, additive is still good. Let's change this to red, and then let's change the base color to yellow. Just turn this down a little bit so it's not so bright. And then let's go back to the explosion particle system. This should be between red and yellow. Maybe we'll change the length scale up to 6, and then the size can be down to lower. Yeah, I really like the way this looks. Okay, so this is going too far. So let's just change this from 100 to 200. Okay, and it looks like it's going really far, but actually just needs to be closer to the ground. That's why it looks like it's so big. So when we put it closer to the ground, let's see what that looks like. All right, that's looking really freaking awesome. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the explosion. Now we need to instantiate this when it hits the ground. So under the meteor, under the collisions, we just need to turn on this send collision messages option. And then at the very bottom, we need to add a script that I made. So we're just gonna add this meteor explosion script. And then we're just gonna drag this particle system into it. And then let's open this in the code so that you can see what this does. So this is the code for this. The only thing that you're gonna need to change is this location. This depends on where you put the explosion. So ours is here. Oh, we didn't actually drag. So this explosion particle system, when you're done messing with it, you can just drag it into this folder at the bottom, and then you can delete it from the scene. And then if you, oh, right here, if you click on it, you can see the path to it at the bottom. So you just need to make this path match. So we'll change this completely to match. So assets, models, imported models, enemies, plus 2 animations per system, explosion, ps.prefab. So again, we're just matching this path to be exactly what it is at the bottom here. And you have to put the .prefab at the end as well. So let me just make sure this is the one we just made, right? Yeah, it is. Okay, so let's go ahead and delete that. And so now when these meteor hits anything, it will blow up. Now I also have a little bit of a script here to damage my stick wizard. You don't have to include this, okay? This is only specific to my game. So let me just full screen this so you can actually read all the code at once. Let me zoom out a little bit. Actually, I think I can press enter here. That way it's all on one screen for you. Yeah, so this is all of the code for it. And again, like I said, you just have to change this to be, oh, also you need to get rid of this line because you probably don't have a bomb explosion sound. So you can delete this line because it's not gonna work, it's gonna crap out. And you can delete all of this because this is just damaging my player and you probably don't have a player. So this, you can leave it if you want to, but it's not gonna do anything. Also, you're not gonna have this player class. So maybe just delete this for your game, but this is how you would make it check if it hit a player, and you would just have to check the transform name and then get rid of this variable, and then you would have to write a method for your player to take damage. We're not going to do that in this, we're just making the meteor. So let's go ahead and save this. And now I just got to change the room. So, because if we start in the boss room, it's going to be really confusing. Also, let's just make this meteor looping. Oh, it's already looping, okay. So, and then let's just make like 15 of them, and let's make this higher, and the lifetime can be 15 so that it disappears when it hits the ground, but we just want it to be a little bit more spread out. So we're gonna change the start room that the player starts in. Right now I have it starting in room 14 for the boss. That's specific to my application. So we're just gonna change this to 0. So 0 is my actual start room. This isn't gonna put the player, let me just move the player to the center of the screen. Hang on, put him to 0 here. Okay, let's run this. Okay. So you can see here we have like this cool oh shit, it put me through a door. So we have this cool meteor shower effect going. And yeah, this is pretty much all I did to make the meteor. Maybe the explosions prefab should be a little bit larger. So let me just add that back to the scene for a second. This should be a little bit thicker. So random between 0.5 and 3 was good. And then let's just change the stretching back to 3 so it looks cooler. And then we just want to put the lifetime down to maybe 0.3 because they're too big, like it's taking up too much size. And then we just want to oops, where did this shit my cow people are there. Okay, and then the other thing is my main area of the light should be on 2. I turned it down for the boss room. I was just messing around with this boss room before I made this video or whatever, but let's just run this again. Okay, so a few of the last things that we need to change here. So I had the wrong asset loaded. I was loading from my boss folder instead of loading it from the Explosion PS prefab that I made. We need to turn off looping on the Explosion prefab. So if you click on it, there's a looping option. Turn this off. This will make it play over and over again. So when the meteors are hitting the ground, they're playing multiple times, like an explosion multiple times. It's only supposed to be one. And then the size can probably get down from to maybe like 1 to 3. So let's just save this and run it one last time here. I'll just turn the volume back on. Alright, so that's going to be it for the day. I hope you guys liked the video. If you liked it, make sure you actually press like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.